Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. On the day it's being recorded, it is Monday, August 4th, 2025. It is currently 8:15 in the afternoon, well, technically evening now. Temperature is around 75 degrees. It's, I can't tell if it's partly cloudy or just cloudy or, well, the sun's still out and it's still say blue sky, so I would say that it's, partly cloudy, I would imagine, but, anyways, well, it's time for me to go to work. I'm glad I got a backup shirt, because packing an extra shirt when I'm out walking to work has always been a beneficial for me. Okay, so this is something I kind of found out not too long ago. There's no one behind me. Okay. So, presidential grave sites. Let's talk about that here real quick. Out of all 45 people that has ever held the title of President of the United States, as of December of last year, 40 of them are dead, and the other 5 are still alive and are or aren't currently in office. Okay, sorry about that. Man, I really like the pause feature when I'm recording here on my phone, and I can pause it and then go back to it. It's like Android, which is really cool. About damn time that Apple added it, because yeah, seriously. But anyways, 45 people, well, actually, yeah, 45 people have ever held the title of President of the United States. Although we've had 47 different presidencies, because, well, we've had 2 presidents that have served 2 non-consecutive terms. First was Grover Cleveland, who was the 22nd and 24th president. And we have Trump as the 45th and 47th. So yeah, that's why I said that there are 45 people that have ever held the title. And of those 45, all but 5 are dead. And technically, to my current location, whether it's like my actual current location or like my hometown, I'm always close to one, and it's the president of my hometown. And the most recent one that came out of Ohio. But speaking of which, since Ohio is known as the birthplace of presidents, well, the mother presidents, because a lot of presidents were born here in Ohio. If I recall correctly, somewhere between 8 or 9 presidents were born here in Ohio, with Virginia more or less probably the second. But yeah. But in terms of presidential grave sites in Ohio, there's only 5 here in Ohio. There is one in North Bend, which is close to the Indiana border, and that's where William Henry Harrison was born, or where he's buried, I should say. There's one in Canton with William McKinley, which is towards the border of Pennsylvania. There's one up near Cleveland, like on the outskirts of Cleveland. That one is, oh God, I think it's Garfield. There's one here in my hometown with Harding, because our town kind of commercials off of Harding being the most important and most infamous person from here in town. I mean, hell, we have his home, we have his memorial, we have his temporary memorial, and we also have a presidential museum, which was completed in 2020, which was his 100th anniversary of him being elected, which, by the way, Harding is to this day the first and so far only president to ever be elected on his birthday. Yeah, he was born November 3rd of 1865, I think. I used to do, I had a project done about him back in the 4th grade. And I was like, I want to do someone that's big, powerful, and we're, showing great determination. Because in 3rd grade was really when I started grasping about history. But it's just like basic history, like basic American history almost, or just... Actually, I don't even think it was history back then. I don't think did I ever do history in 3rd grade? God, I don't even remember. But if I didn't, then 4th grade was my first real dosage of history as a kid in school. Because we did Ohio history, and we had a thing where we had to do a famous Ohioan, do a report, and present to a bunch of people of who we are, what we did, and and all that stuff. So I picked President Harding. I was dressed up in a suit, tie, the whole 9 yards. Like, I am President Warren Gamble Harding, the 29th President of the United States. That kind of thing. Guy was almost nodding off, I think. Jesus. But, yeah. The other president that's buried here in Ohio is also the only one that's the closest to me, not counting Harding. And it's Hayes up in Fremont, which is only about an hour and a half drive. Yeah, because I was curious on all the presidents buried in Ohio, where they were, and how far of a drive each one would be. And to my surprise, the next closest one to my location, other than Harding's, which is literally just on the other side of town of where I currently live, which I can easily, it'll literally take me about maybe almost an hour of a walk just to get to the Harding tomb and the Harding Memorial. But yeah, I looked it up, and Hayes was is the closest that's not here in town. And I also did some research on where vice presidents were buried. And Ohio has no vice presidents buried. But with J.D. Vance being from here in Ohio, he's from Middleton, he will probably more likely be buried in his hometown, which would mean that he will be buried here in Ohio when he dies. I just got a message from Discord, and it's my ex-girlfriend that lives up in Canada. But I'm not here to talk about her. I'm here to talk about presidential grave sites. So yeah, we have 5 presidential burial sites here in Ohio, which is pretty cool. Now, out of all the ones in other states around the country, out of the 40, how many have I been to throughout my entire life at some point or another? Well, I can tell you guys that I have been to a total of 3. In order of when I first visited, President Harding, obviously here in town. It's the easy one to go to. I can literally go over there anytime I want. Must be 8 o'clock then. Let's see here. So yeah, in order of when I first visited, we have Harding here in town. I can go up over there anytime I want with ease. The second one I went to, my favorite president, George Washington, at his estate in Mount Vernon in Virginia, which, by the way, houses the most presidential grave sites in the whole country. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see Mount Vernon and see his grave. I mean, when you're at Mount Vernon, you have to go see, go pay your respects to the great General Washington. And in fact, I was back in 2017 during our troop trip to Gettysburg in DC. We spent like maybe 3 or 4 days in Gettysburg in Pennsylvania, but then they decided at some point when we were headed to DC, they decided, you know what, how about a nice little pit stop? Let's go to Mount Vernon. And we're like, okay, cool, sounds good to me. Because I'm like, Mount Vernon, who infamously was at Mount Vernon? And I'm like, oh yeah, Washington. How perfect, since we're going to be in DC. So yeah, we had a nice little afternoon over at Mount Vernon. Went through the property, and all that. Yeah, I really enjoyed my time at Mount Vernon. It wasn't my overall highlight of that trip, but it was definitely on the better fun side of that trip. That was a wide ass turn you made there, guy. Okay, you're turning that way. Oh, that's why you're going slow. You're a handicap. But yeah, it was June 26th of 2017. Yeah, when we went to Mount Vernon, and with Washington being my favorite president, that was pretty cool. I mean, I already knew he was my favorite president from the beginning. Well, for one, the elementary school I went to as a kid was named after him. Washington is the father of America. Like, literally. This country would not even existed if it literally wasn't for him. The third presidential grave that I saw, and the most recent one, other than, oh God, why'd I look at the sun? Other than going to see Harding back in August of last year, this was part of our DC trip, but we decided to spend a couple hours out in Arlington, which is also in Virginia. We went to the Tomb of the Unknown. We saw the changing of the guard. I do have to point out that Arlington doesn't have one president buried there, but two. They have William Howard Taft, which is, I think he's on one side of the cemetery. And then, of course, you have one of the most popular presidents of his day, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. That's right. I went and saw JFK when we were there. And even though he was literally in office for a little over half of his term, he's still, in my mind, he's definitely in my top 5 favorite presidents of all time. So yeah, we saw him and his wife Jacqueline. So, yeah. So yeah, within a 20-mile radius of DC, there are, I would say, 5 presidents. Because you have you have the two at Arlington, Taft and Kennedy, and you have Mount Vernon with Washington. That's 3. And then you have the only one buried in Washington, which is Woodrow Wilson. He is at the National Cathedral. And I don't know. That might be it. I know I said 5, but there's only one president that's buried. Well, no. Because within the radius of Washington, since the only 2 states that border Washington is Maryland and Virginia, I don't think there's anything else there in terms of presidential burials. So yeah, it would only be 4. Also, I should mention that a few weeks ago, Allison and Christian went down to Nashville, Tennessee to go see Coldplay down there. And that was a nice 8-hour drive to and from. Let's see here. And Nashville has 2 presidential burials. One for the 7th president, Andrew Jackson, at his home at the Hermitage, which we did go past on the way back home. And probably the only one that I was really expected to go see, the 11th president, James K. Polk. You want to know where Polk is? Well, he's on the Capitol grounds of the Tennessee State Capitol in Nashville. And the thing is that we went to their state museum, which gives you all the state history. I was more focused with the presidential history and of course the Civil War. They really heavily focused on the Civil War, but since Tennessee literally produced 3 presidents, Jackson, Polk, and the first president to ever be impeached, which was Andrew Johnson. Which where we were at for the at the State Museum in Tennessee. You could literally see the state capitol building, and it's just on the grounds of the building. I really wanted to go over and see it, but what I probably should have done was that I should have went to, I mean, if they were okay with it, with me to go over and see it while they were at the stadium, which wasn't too far. How I can go down there and take a look and see President Polk, which, by the way, Polk is one of the most underrated presidents ever. Like, he barely won his election. He won with the slimmest of margins in 1844. But yeah. Also, I should mention that during the time frame, or at least in terms of distance from going from, you know, from the homie's crib to Nashville, we at least went by 5 president grave sites. We went past, obviously, Harding. We were kind of close to William Henry Harrison in North Bend, just kind of close to the Indiana border, and just a little further west from Cincinnati. We went through Louisville, and they have the only presidential tomb in Kentucky, which is home to Zachary Taylor. who allegedly died from drinking a glass of milk and eating a bowl of cherries. So it's possible that he probably died from cyanide poisoning from eating too many cherries. Allegedly. They exhumed his body, and I think they concluded it was some kind of gastral infection or something. I can't remember what the reason that they said it was. But yeah, he's in Louisville, Kentucky. And of course you have Jackson and Polk. One of the reasons I wanted to go down to Tennessee with them was so I can see President Polk. But instead, since, I'm a third shifter, and I was pretty much awake for pretty much the entire ride there, we were in the hotel room, and I just, I was laying in the hotel room and just slept while they were at the concert. So, literally like 6 hours. So I'm like, alright, fine, whatever. I didn't get to see what I wanted to see. But I did get a nice view of the state capitol from our position. So yeah, it could have almost been 4, but nope, it's going to remain at 3 for a little bit. So it also made me think where each of the 5 current former living presidents, or current presidents, the last 5 presidents that we had from within the last 30 years or so, from Clinton to today, I definitely hypothesized on where they would more likely be buried. Clinton would definitely be buried in Arkansas, since he was the first from Arkansas. Bush Jr. would definitely be in Texas, even though he was born in Connecticut. But yeah, he was born in Connecticut, but he lived his life in Texas. And when you think of a modern politician, or at least a modern president from Texas, everyone thinks of Bush Jr. because he's really, really Texas. So I think he's going to be buried somewhere in Texas. Obama, now even though he was born in Hawaii, I doubt that he would want to be buried in Hawaii. So if anything, he could be buried. I mean, I guess he could, since it's his home state. Someone's trying to follow me on Instagram. But I think Obama would more likely be buried in Illinois. Because, currently there's only one president buried in Illinois. And that's the honest man himself, Lincoln. So yeah, he would probably be buried in in Illinois, since he was a senator for Illinois up until he became president. Biden, he would probably more likely be buried in Delaware. I would assume, because so far he's the first and only president from Delaware. Trump, that's going to be kind of tricky. I don't think that he's going to be buried in New York, even though he was born in New York City. If anything, since he changed his residency to Florida in the last cycle for last year, I think that he's definitely going to want to be buried in Florida. If I had to guess where, probably somewhere on the grounds of his Mar-a-Lago resort. But, you know, that'd be my guess. I'd be surprised if he doesn't get buried on his resort in Mar-a-Lago. It would make the most sense to me, since I would assume he wouldn't want to be buried in New York. Okay. But, yeah. I think that's all for presidential burials that I'll talk about. And it was the main part of the video. I do want to go around the country and see all of them. That way I can at least go and visit all of them. Now, how I would do that, I don't know how I would do it. I think the smart thing would be is to go from, start here in Ohio, my home state, and then just kind of work my way east and go east, and then go from east to west, but avoid Ohio. That's gonna be a lot of miles and a lot of driving. I mean, unless if I do some flying, which, you know, that's gonna cost a lot of money. I think driving would be the best bet, because you gotta do it with gas and, you know, all that. Well, if you fly, you have to deal with TSA, even for domestic travel. But, you know, I don't know. Unless what I can do is that I could fly out to the ones out on the west and just drive around the ones over here in the east. Like if it's west of the Mississippi, fly out. But if it's east of the Mississippi, drive. I could do it like that. I don't know. Oh, I think that's a nice little like task or a nice trip or plan or something. I don't know. Also kind of coincides with wanting to go back to Washington at some point in this decade. because it seems like, well, I've only been to Washington twice. I first went around 20 years ago in 2005. And I most recently went in 2017 with the scout troop. That was, what was that, 8 years ago? I mean, I don't have to go and see everything in Washington that I want to go see. I mean, there was some stuff that I saw when I was last there that I want to see again. Like, I want to see Congress in action again. I also kind of want to see the Senate, too. Not only the House, but also the Senate. I've literally only been inside of the House chamber. Not on the floor, but obviously, the balcony. But, it would be pretty cool to go back. I would like to. Huh. I actually don't think I'm sweating as much this time. Well, it's also not that hot, with it being in the 70s. But yeah. Okay. So yeah. Well, we're almost to the hospital. I would say we're right around where we should be, actually, technically. I would assume it's somewhere close to 8:30. Why do people have their trash out now? The trash for people over here is Thursday. I don't even know. I should have gotten the trash outside, but I guess I'll have to do that when I get home from work in the morning. Okay. No. Cute. Sounds like they're jamming to Pink Floyd. Okay. But yeah, they had that was a black lab, which made me think of Angel. She was a great dog. Yeah, Mom had to put her down a couple years ago. Well, because, you know, she was also old. She was old, she was blind. She was growing death. Well, I mean, for having her for, well, like 12 years. And how old that is in dog years. I mean, she was old, but, you know, she was old, but she was also a good dog. Yeah, because there was a point that Dad didn't even want to, you know, have her anymore. But right as soon as he was like, okay, I'll take care of it in the morning or whatever. And then the dog just comes up to him. And he changed his mind. I mean, he took her out hunting. And, you know, all that. I mean, yeah, we had her pretty much sometime after Obama got sworn in. So it was roughly around like January or February of 2009. She had 1 litter of puppies. I couldn't tell you how many she had. If I had to guess, maybe about 8 or 9. They were all purebred, of course, so we sold them for about $300 a piece. But yeah, all right, we're here at the hospital. It's probably close to 20 till. So we're gonna go ahead and call it a video. So thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you next time on whatever it may be. Stay cool, stay tuned.